Tennessee relying heavily on transfers. This is always scary to me for the past 25 years, but I'm changing my mindset on it. So do you remember a guy by the name, he coached at Mississippi State, a guy by the name of Jackie Sherrill? Do you remember him?
Oh, yes. And trust me, people and Memphis Tiger fans do too, because he and Tommy West had a great postseason post-game exchange one time. It's hilarious.
They did. Yes. He was the guy that reloaded his team year to year with junior college players. I mean, if you looked at his most 10 impactful players, 6 were junior college year to year. And eventually they blew up and it didn't work out. So is Josh Heupel relying too much on transfers? Let's look back to last year. Dante Thornton did not pan out. Keenan Pili did not pan out, not his fault. How did they do last year on transfers before we project forward a little bit?
Oh, yeah, they failed last year on transfers. They failed miserably. Dante Thornton banged up. Keenan Pili banged up. Andre Carrick just flat out was terrible. I mean, that was
average.
No, he was terrible. He was horrible. Check out his PFF grades. He was an absolute disaster at left guard. But they hit on two. They hit on two. John Campbell Jr. and Omar Norman Lott. And those would have been the last two I would have thought they would have hit on, by the way. Funny enough. But they hit on
So they're batting roughly 30%. Does that get you in the Hall of Fame of transfers? It get you in the Hall of Fame of the Major League Baseball?
I don't know. I feel like your transfer percentage has to be like your free throw percentage in the NBA. I feel like you judge it on a free throw percentage scale more than you do a hitting percentage scale.
Probably more like Shaq free throw percentage for me. I'm good at 60 to 70, but you want to see it 90. You want to see it 90, which is good. I appreciate that. I just don't think that's doable. But I think it is doable because the way Tennessee's recruited in high school, I think they're going to know these kids. And I made mention of that before. Caleb, I think that helps Tennessee when you call a Bob Jones in Utah and you already know that he's a good fit for your character. You've just seen him grow 3 inches and you've seen him add 20 pounds of muscle. So Bob Jones, come on down, and you feel really good about it. So it's not as if Derek, and I want to make this point, it's not as if Derek Dooley could have extended his career by the transfer portal because he didn't recruit enough high school players to know them and make good, well-educated decisions when it came to the transfer portal. Does that make sense, Caleb?
Yeah. No, I mean, well, which is weird because Derek Dooley had that, isn't the thing that held him back in recruiting was he had that insanely long evaluation process that made him so hesitant to offer anybody?
I don't know if that was it or it was just insanely lazy.
I didn't think he was lazy. I thought he just prioritized things wrong.
Whatever the case may be, you got to make the drive to see Von Bell in Chattanooga, right?
Yes, I think he didn't get finished, and this is the thing. He didn't get finished evaluating Von Bell in time. That's where that comes from. He had an insanely long, thorough evaluation process that was just there was one kid, I think it may have been Jalen Ramsey, where it was they were ready, that you covered Jalen Ramsey, so you may know this, but my understanding was Dooley did have a shot, but wanted to wait till he saw his 40 time in real time before he actually made an offer.
I was the first to interview Jalen Ramsey about being a prospect, and he didn't even mention Tennessee.
Okay, maybe it wasn't Jalen Ramsey. There was another kid. It was a highly touted kid. Maybe it was Von Bell, but it was somebody that Dooley hadn't offered. And it was a highly touted kid, but Dooley wanted to wait until he saw him run the 40 in person before he made the offer.
Okay.
And it's everybody else is already offering this kid, and that was Dooley waiting to see until he saw.
He could have called me. I made time to watch him run the 40 in person. All right. So a couple of other guys that hit last year, I thought Castles.
McCullen Castles. That was
McCullen Castles hit. He hit really well. So let's look at who they're looking at this year. Transfers coming in this year.
And the reason this is relevant is they basically named them all yesterday, specifically.
Yes. So you think to get it started, I'll tell you what, let's just go ahead and do a 4 down since I dropped the ball in that earlier. 4 downs is brought to you by our good friend at Varner Ford. Jimmy Himes joins us every Wednesday. He is out of town this week, but he'll join us next Wednesday. 4 downs.
4 downs, 4 questions, 4 answers. The Dave Hooker Show.
4
Downs, a presentation of offthehooksports.com.
All right, Coop, let's get it started. It's brought to you by Ray Varner Ford, as that is the intro, but we'll go right here to Coop getting us started.
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
Thank you. What down, Coop?
Coop here. First down.
Do you think Josh Heupel has learned from last year's recruiting misses in the transfer portal to be a better transfer portal coach this year?
No, because I can't say they were misses yet last year because they're all back this year, the ones that I say were misses. And 2 of them were injury issues.
So despite
I don't
you
think there was
poking
anything
fun at him, you think he did a pretty good job last year?
I'm saying it's an incomplete.
Okay. If you had a bet and you have to give him a B+ or a D-, what would that class end up?
I'd go B+ at that point. I mean, Keenan Peely was taken to SEC Media Days this year, and we didn't get to see how he was last year. Another transfer we forgot about last year, by the way, was Gabe Giuliani, who worked out for exactly what they wanted him to do.
Yeah, very versatile, want to play.
Yes.
I think that's the kid from a personality standpoint and a character standpoint you keep on your team as long as you can. What down, Coop?
Cooper Mays here. Second down.
All right. So Tennessee's transfers this year are whom?
And I'm going to name the ones that were specifically shouted out.
Well, can we get them all too? Can we go ahead and do we have them all?
Yeah, well, the ones that are relevant, but the ones shouted out were Lance Hurd was shouted out on offense. Joey Halsley did not give off great signs, by the way, that Lance Hurd was really picking up the offense. He kept talking about the adjustments for Lance Hurd. That's a bit of a concern.
May I say something that sounds rude?
Sure.
I'm not listening to what Joey Halsley says anymore.
Okay.
I mean, it's Josh Heupel's offense. I got up and left during Joey Halsley's press conference.
Wow. Dave has no respect. Dave just wants Joey Halsley.
No,
Dave treats Joey Halsley the way I treat punters.
No, I've got other things to do. I've got other things to do than sit there through a 20-minute press conference saying the same thing that Josh Heupel just said 20 minutes earlier.
But his name sounds very similar to one of the greatest singers of our time, Halsey.
He might end up being the best coach ever, but right now, for lack of a better term, he's Josh Heupel's puppet, and there's nothing wrong with that. Being a puppet of Josh Heupel's could make you millions and millions of dollars a year. Ask Alex Golish. Just know your place and learn and bring something to the table occasionally.
Cooper Mays here.
Wait, are we not going? Oh, before we're going to the next down, are we not just going to reel out the transfers?
Reel out the transfer. Sorry, that was my finger slipped.
On offense, still, again, he was cagey, but Miles Kitzman and Holden Stays. The standouts were on defense because Jackson Moy was volunteered, and basically Tim Binks said he loved his versatility, immediately made it clear he thinks that basically implied he thinks that Jackson Moy is going to start, and then went out of his way to tout the 3 transfers in the secondary: Jermon McCoy, Jalen McMurray, Jacoby Thomas. I think it's very clear all 3 of those guys are going to start.
Tennessee center Cooper Mays here. Third down.
The best transfer on defense will be
Jermon McCoy. He's the all SEC caliber cornerback.
It's Jackson Moy. He'll start.
They're all going to start.
Yeah, but that's saying something to come start in the SEC.
They're all going to come and start in the SEC.
Okay. We heard it here first. We were higher on Jackson Moy than most people, correct?
Correct.
We like Jackson Moy.
All SEC center Cooper Mays here. Fourth down.
Best player on offense transfer will be
by default Lance Hurd, but it has to be Lance Hurd. If it's not Lance Hurd, there's a big issue. I didn't hear Chris Brazel's name mentioned yesterday, funny enough, and I thought I heard more of him in spring.
That's funny. You didn't hear him. I did hear a lot. I heard him ask about, but that doesn't mean that that is strange that nothing was offered up about him. Now
I told you he was going to get buried in the depth chart with these receivers this year.
Okay. Well, it's easy to do. And Josh Heupel's.
I told you Mike Matthews would take that spot at the number 2 spot because Mike Matthews is just too generationally great.